April 13th was the day the depositions ended with Danziger and Weitz. And on that day, if I was the lawyer instead of Baez, here's what would have happened. I would have told Ashton either he releases Casey that very day, order her released, and go and arrest George Anthony for this murder. Or tomorrow I will file a motion for a court hearing where I put Dr. Danziger and Dr. Weitz on a witness stand under oath. And we will clear this up and they won't be sitting on any more fences here. Okay? That'll be the way we end this case. It won't go to trial. Except for George Anthony. He'll be the one he'll be the defendant. It won't be Casey. So she suffered way more than Zenaida Gonzalez ever thought of suffering. That's for sure. So if Gonzalez had a case, which she happens not to have, and I'll explain that in 1 minute, if she had real damages that were inflicted maliciously by Casey Anthony, then Casey Anthony's damages are spectacular times a million compared to Zenaida Gonzalez that were inflicted by HLN, the media propaganda liars that lied everybody into believing Casey was guilty before the trial, during the trial, and even after the trial. Okay? And she is now hunkered down, worried about getting her head beat in because everybody is so completely in a trance by HLN because of this 31-day deal. But by the way, George didn't call for 31 days and neither did Cindy. So why is it different for Casey? Now I'll tell you right now, Casey flipped out. That's absolutely without question. And that's exactly the diagnosis from Dr. Weitz and Dr. Danziger. She just flipped the minute she saw her kid dead in George's arms. I mean, that came as a total shock. She had absolutely no idea that that was ever even imaginable. Okay? On June 16th of 2008. So yeah, she went into shock, flipped out, and then did what George told her to act guilty by taking off and disappearing and not calling and looking crazy as a bed bug. Okay? Talking about the nanny, talking about the phony job, which, I mean, like any fool, and she's no fool, that's for sure, would know, okay, I'm walking into Universal Studios with these cops. Well, they're going to find out in a matter of minutes that I just told them a lie. Oh, I'm going to take them over to Zenaida Gonzalez that doesn't exist. Yeah, they're going to find out in a matter of minutes that doesn't exist. Okay? So, where am I going with that? Except to jail for lying. You understand? Casey's no dope. She flipped out. She's insane. So in other words, she didn't maliciously hurt Zenaida Gonzalez the way that HLN maliciously tried to get Casey Anthony executed. And allow this George to sit there in that trial with his Bible in his lap, directing the whole show. Okay? Yeah. So, you see, this story isn't even close to being over. And unless the FBI does their freaking job for a change, like they're covering up the John Corzine case, and they're covering up the 9/11 case, and they're covering up my case, which is PIMCO, which I filed a lawsuit, by the way, pro se, in the Southern District of New York. Okay? Big, $17 billion case, PIMCO I'm talking about. Now, these are 4 cases that I have personal knowledge of that the FBI is covering up. So it's time for the FBI to do their job. And I hope that the people who are listening to this YouTube thing contact the FBI in Florida and tell them, hey, Get with it, okay? Get with it and arrest George. You know the case, and if you don't, contact Steve Miller, because he could set you real straight on this deal. And this isn't going to be in Jose Baez's book, because he didn't do what he should have done on April the 13th, and she could have just walked right out of jail there. And I'm assuming that he didn't even know what these two shrinks were actually going to say. I don't know if he knew it or not, but he sure as hell knew it on April 13th, because how I know it. And that's like, okay, I know it, and it doesn't matter if I was sitting right in that room with Baez and Cheney Mason, or I just read it in the transcript. It's the same exact words. Nothing changed. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to be in Baez's book on how he knew Casey was innocent, how he knew there was no accident, how he knew George committed the murder, how he knew this whole thing and dragged it out so he could make a few $1,000,000 on this shitty book he just wrote, okay? Let me tell you something. I wrote 4 letters to Jose Baez that commended him. That's before I read the transcripts of the depositions, because I thought he had done a great job, and he got the acquittal, and it's really, really, really almost impossible to challenge Jose Baez just for the simple fact that he did get the acquittal. But that ain't what happened here, baby. Okay? Thank God he got the acquittal. The only reason they got an acquittal, by the way, is because these jurors were completely isolated from HLN media lies. Or believe me, they wouldn't have gotten 12 to agree to acquit Casey. You could bet your bottom dollar on that one. You understand? So, okay. It all worked out at that point, but let's face it. She's suckered into hiding now, hunkered down, worrying about somebody beating her head in. She can't socialize. She can't have a boyfriend. Her last boyfriend, Tony, was wearing a wire to try to screw her. Okay? Yeah. So of course, she needs to be exonerated. And the only way Casey can get exonerated so she can live a normal life is if George gets convicted for the murder he committed on Kaylee. And all you people, the haters, the lovers, everybody following this case should want to see justice. And that can only happen in a court of law. And that can only happen with Casey testifying under oath and being cross-examined under oath, and let her tell the story and let her get out of that trance she's in, wondering why she doesn't hate George, who tried to get her executed. Okay? I mean, really. Until she snaps out of that deal, unfortunately, she's never going to be right. But I can guarantee you this. She doesn't have a mental defect that can't be remedied if it's addressed properly in a therapeutic situation. So that, yeah, let's quit the fantasy, the hypocrisy, the all this brainwashing that she was under since she was 8 years old with George, and snap out of it and get some justice and proceed in life so she can have a job and a guy that she can date, and she can have friends, and she can walk around like a normal person. And then she can sue HLN and rip them for about a $50 million piece. And if she doesn't want the money, let her donate it to charity. How's that? Okay? If she really doesn't want it. That's up to her. But she deserves it. And she deserves that and more, actually. And Zenaida ain't going to get a nickel, because she did not maliciously lie to hurt Zenaida. That's number one. And number two, and more important, she was in a complete state of insanity. So she has no culpability of saying anything about Zenaida Gonzalez. Boom, bang, that case is dismissed. Finished business. Okay, and this stupid lawyer she has, Charlie Green, doesn't have to send his questions about how much money that Zenaida Gonzalez got paid, because I don't care if Zenaida Gonzalez gets $1 billion from Dr. Phil or whoever. Who cares? That has nothing to do with Casey. Thank you very much.